This is the future.
Before we start this video, I would just like to inform players that the Asian server of Warframe is still dead right now. It took me hours to get into the game and the only way to do it is by using a free VPN. What I did is, I activated the VPN when the launcher is loading, up until I can log into Warframe. After that, I deactivated the VPN and played Warframe solo. This was the only fix I can do right now to play Warframe, and I hope that this will get a fix before the holidays. Also, please pray for my country, the Philippines, as we are experiencing another calamity right now in the form of Typhoon Odette. Lastly, before we get started, I would like you to stay until the end, as I will be giving away another Harrow Prime access courtesy of Digital Extremes. But before that, let's take a look at the new Warframe Caliban and how to play him. First of all, Caliban can be acquired in two ways. One is by directly buying him in the market for some platinum, and two, by farming his blueprints and parts. Caliban's main blueprint is purchased from the market with credits. His component blueprints are acquired from Nama bounties after completion of the new war on the Plains of Eidolon's day cycle and on Orb Valis during the Plains night cycle. Now, let's get into his abilities, beginning with his passive. Caliban and allies within his affinity range gain adaptive armor that builds damage resistance against the highest damage received from enemy attacks, stacking 10% per hit up to a cap of 50%. If Caliban or his allies do not receive damage for 5 seconds, their adaptive armor loses 2% per second until fully removed. Passive values are not affected by mods. The most bummer thing about this passive is that the damage reduction effects, such as those of adaptation, do not stack with adaptive armor. The damage reduction provided to Caliban, or his allies, equipped with adaptation, will be the higher of the two values. I was really hoping of taking advantage of adaptation and Caliban's adaptive armor to build up more survivability for this Warframe, but I don't know why Digital Extremes is so scared of giving that to the players. To be honest with you guys, I'm using adaptation for this Warframe since it's better for his survivability because he has an ability to gain over shields. Caliban is supposed to be tanky as hell, just like the Sentients, but no, the developer seems to don't like that idea. If they don't want damage reduction mods to stack with Caliban's passive, then I suggest that they should strengthen its passive to about 90 to 95%. Because the reality is, Caliban's third ability, which gives out shields, will not be able to save him during dire situations such as multiple steel path enemies hoarding you. Speaking of his third ability, it's called Lethal Progeny, and it allows Caliban to call down sentient reinforcements from above, deploying a single concalist. The concalist is summoned at a variable rank level depending on Caliban's Warframe rank multiplied by his ability strength, with a damage multiplier of 2.5 times and a health multiplier of 2 times at max rank, as it fights alongside Caliban for a set duration before it self-detonates. While within 25 meters and in soft line of sight of Caliban, the concalist constantly recharges its progenitor's shields at 25 shield points per second, which overflows into overshields. The concalist will teleport next to Caliban if it wanders beyond him. Caliban can have up to 3 concalists active at a time. Concalist rank, shields per second, damage, and health multipliers are affected by ability strength. Duration is affected by ability duration. Deploy range, shield repair range, max progeny active, and teleport range are not affected by mods. Shield recharge per progeny stacks with the number of concalists in range of Caliban, and the amount of total shield recharge per second is shown under a lethal progeny buff icon displayed beside Caliban's shield and health indicators. Now, I would say that this is a good ability in terms of survivability. The shield regeneration is decent, especially if there are 3 concalist units in the field. However, I don't understand why are these not high-level concalist units. I'm hoping that the level of these concalists would scale with enemy levels, giving them more survivability so they can be active longer in the field. I don't care about damage from these things, as they don't do real damage at all. What I prefer them to do is to distract enemies and be in the field longer so I can have a reliable source of shield regeneration. However, it's not as reliable as other survivability skills. The thing that I don't like about Lethal Progeny is that it doesn't work in the shield gating phase. Well, this is just my personal opinion, as I was hoping that the shield regen would still work during the shield gating phase, as shield right now is the primary source of survivability of Caliban. but I guess I'm just asking too much from the developer as a solo player. You can make Caliban survive by not just relying on the shield regeneration of his third ability. He got a good crowd control ability which can affect a wide area in the form of Sentient Wrath. When performing this ability, Caliban leaps and stomps the ground to unleash a cluster of sentient shockwaves in a radial formation that travels outward. Each shockwave homes in on an individual enemy in its travel path, dissipating on direct contact to inflict impact damage. Affected enemies are also lifted and become more vulnerable to all incoming damage for a set duration. The range is affected by ability range. Max targets, damage, and damage vulnerability are affected by ability strength. Its duration is affected by ability duration. And the best part is, its shockwaves can phase through terrain and obstacles to reach their targets. It synergies well with Caliban's first ability, since hitting enemies lifted by Sentient Wrath will detonate them in a destructive blast. But to be honest, I would rather use this to combo with Caliban's fourth ability as it's better used to hold enemies in position. Okay, before we proceed to the first and fourth ability of Caliban, I would like to add more details about Sentient Wrath. First, it's the subsumable ability of Caliban. Once you feed the Sentient Warframe to the Helminth system, then you can now use Sentient Wrath to other Warframes. There are a couple of great Helminth combos that I have in mind, but let's speak of that on another video. For now, let's focus on Caliban. So, aside from this, you should also know about the lifted mechanic of this ability that can benefit from suction mod set. The lifted mechanic can trigger the effect of the suction mod that will explode enemies on death, dealing up to 30% of their max health as impact damage in a radius up to 6 meters. Also, the lifted mechanic is considered as a status and the condition overload mod can benefit from this, giving you more damage output if you have equipped the condition overload mod in your melee weapon. While these are small details, this might help you in min-maxing builds for Caliban. Moving on, let's talk about the first ability and his ultimate. Now, I have made these abilities last in the discussion because his fourth and first ability are the complete opposite. While everyone wants to be a spinning top of doom with his first ability, it's not as useful as his fourth ability. To be honest with you guys, Caliban's first ability, called Razor Gyre, is such a mediocre ability that if the waifu Warframe sits with Caliban, the Sentient Warframe would look pathetic. Well, I'm just talking of his first ability, that is, the waifu Warframe needs to be reworked to be great in my opinion. Now, I did post a video saying that Digital Extremes should rework Caliban before even releasing the Warframe. Some hated that video since they are saying that I should not make videos like that when the Warframe isn't released yet. However, the moment I knew what are the abilities of Caliban, I have doubts about it, especially his first ability, and it turns out that all my expectations were right. It's worse than Inaro's Sandstorm ability, and Aqua Blades are way better compared to Razor Gyre. First of all, it is an energy drain, and secondly, it doesn't do that much damage compared to Aqua Blades, even if you remove armor and shields from enemies using Caliban's fourth ability, and even applying damage vulnerability from Sentient Wrath. I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong, but after spinning rapidly for a couple of seconds, the only thing that changes with this ability is how low my energy becomes after time. The damage is very mediocre that it's not even worth using at all. It indeed has the ability to lifesteal per hit, but that doesn't make any difference at all. Almost everyone expected that Caliban would be a spinning top of destruction, but the final form is, he is worst compared to the waifu Warframe's Aqua Blades. Hell, it's better to subsume Aqua Blades to Caliban and replace Razor Gyre for some dumb fun. It's a total mess of an ability, and I don't understand why they made one of the iconic moves of Sentience such a mediocre ability. Lastly, let's talk about his fourth ability called Fusion Strike. When using his ultimate, Caliban expels 3 concentrated streams of pure energy from his chest, core and hands, carving a swathe of energized destruction over a range as he converges them into one toward a location on the aiming reticle. Each stream inflicts blast damage to all enemies it contacts. Upon full convergence, the streams disperse into an explosive blast that knocks away enemies, while creating fallout that envelops the targeted area spanning a radius and lingers for a couple of seconds. All enemies that wander within the fallout zone lose 50% of their maximum armor and shields. Damage and debuff are affected by ability strength. Stream range and fallout radius are affected by ability range. Duration is affected by ability duration. The number of streams is not affected by mods. Caliban can freely reorient his aiming reticle during the convergence to sweep the streams along, damaging more enemies, then create the fallout blast at the end of the casting animation. Giving at least 200% power strength will allow you to fully strip the armor and shield of an enemy in one cast of this ability. In my opinion, this is the best ability of Caliban. He falls behind in the damage department, but he excels in total defense strip that makes it killing enemies much faster. The best part is, this ability works with acolytes and it can totally strip their armor. I still haven't tried it, but I think this ability will work also with Kuvaliches and Sisters of Parvos. I'm on a complete hiatus hunting sisters and leeches, and if you have tried it, then please tell us if it works in the comment section below. One quick reminder though, Fusion Strike tends to ragdoll enemies, so you should cast Sentient Wrath first before casting this ability so they won't fly around. Another good way is to use subsume abilities like Korra's Ensnare to put enemies in place before casting Fusion Strike. Now for the build, I just added 3 former on my Caliban right now. As I have said, I have the adaptation mod on this Warframe since 50% damage mitigation from a specific damage type isn't that much when you are dealing with steel path enemies. You are better with adaptation to somehow benefit from the shield regen and overshield provided by your sentient friends. But like I have said, I hope that Digital Extremes would somehow ramp it up to at least 95% for reliability. I'm hoping that the developer will do some tweaks on this Warframe. Caliban is not bad, but he needs some rework on some of his abilities to be better. I know 95% damage reduction will be absurd in team plays, but they can always make it so that allies will only receive 50% damage mitigation from a certain damage type. Anyway, the passive is not that reliable if you don't have tons of shields or health. Also, please rework Gyrospire, as it looks like the worst copy-paste of Aquablades and Sandstorm. His sentient friends should also scale with enemy levels and should have tougher defenses just like sentients. I don't care if they rework the attack animation and pattern, as usually, artificial intelligence in this game is dumb. Now, I want to know your thoughts about Caliban in the comments section. Be sure to check back later, as I will be dissecting this Warframe and making some crazy builds for the Helminth system. Before you go, do check out the link in the pinned comment so you can enter the Harrow Prime Access giveaway. This is open to all platform, and this is the highest pack that you will receive from the Harrow Prime Access, which includes all the stuff of the newest Prime Access. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.
This is the future.